Thank you, Chris. And I want to wish you a good morning on behalf of Interim President Dr. Willie Hagan. You know, Willie is at the American Council of Education meeting in Los Angeles today representing our campus and isn't able to be here. I know he wishes he could be in attendance. So I get the honor of providing the introduction today, and I'm very much pleased to do that. So I'm happy to welcome the faculty, staff, students, alumni, the president's associates, and family members and friends to this, our 2012 Outstanding Professor Lecture at California State University. Now, for many of you who have attended the annual lectures, you know that another gentleman was up here in front, typically making these introductions, and I'd like to just acknowledge Dr. Milton Gordon, our past president's presence here. And Dr. Gordon, I know that as you follow this lecture, you will be giving Marty some tips and suggestions, because I think most of you know Dr. Gordon is a mathematician, so he'll be listening to you very carefully, Marty. So it's my distinct honor and privilege to introduce Cal State Fullerton's 2010-2011 Outstanding Professor. And as you know, this is Dr. Marty Bonsang, Professor of Mathematics, and he will be delivering this year's Outstanding Professor Lecture. Now, Dr. Bonsang's presentation today is sponsored, as each of these lectures are, by the President's Associates, who have provided funding for the Outstanding Professor Award for many years. So I want to thank the President Associates members who could be here and attend today's lectures. Are any of you present? If you would you stand up? President Associates members? Okay. Today's event is also sponsored by the President's Office, the Office of the Vice President for Academic Affairs, the Academic Senate, and the Faculty Development Center. So now I would like to ask our past outstanding professors who are in the audience today, if you could stand and be recognized. Any outstanding professors from the past here today? Son of a gun, another couple of mathematicians, huh? Now, I'd now like to invite Dr. Marty Bonsang, Professor of Mathematics, to please join me on the stage. Marty? So you get to stand here while I say a few words about you. Okay. So each year, the faculty members of Cal State Fullerton nominate one of their colleagues to receive the Outstanding Professor Award, the highest honor that our faculty can bestow upon a fellow colleague. Last year's recipient, Dr. Bonsang, exemplifies the very best attributes associated with this award. To be selected as the Outstanding Professor, the nominee must have a record of superlative teaching, distinguished scholarship, evidence of service to the university, the larger community, and have earned national or international recognition for his scholarly work, his or her scholarly work. Dr. Bonsang was selected as the recipient of the 2010-2011 Outstanding Professor Award in recognition of his excellence as an inspiring and dedicated teacher, his outstanding achievements as a scholar and author, and his unfailing dedication to reaching out to students, teachers from kindergarten through high school levels, and professors to help them discover the power of mathematics. Dr. Bonsang began his teaching career as a math and choral music teacher at Sierra Vista Junior High School, and then at La Puente High School in the mid-1970s. Now, he went on to teach mathematics at Mount San Antonio College while doing his PhD in mathematics education at the Claremont Graduate University. After completing his PhD, he came to Cal State Fullerton in 1992. And while at Fullerton, he has helped develop the mathematics program to support mathematics education for elementary and secondary teachers. He's been the lead author on several new courses designed specifically for middle school and high school teachers. And I know the members of our local K-12 community who've had the opportunity to interact with Marty very much appreciate his many contributions. Marty is well known in many of the surrounding school districts. According to one letter of support for his nomination, an assistant superintendent stated, Marty has made many contributions throughout his career that have led to improved teacher pedagogy as well as improved student achievement. Marty the Math Man is well known in the Norwalk, La Mirada Unified School District for his expertise as well as his abilities to work collaboratively with staff and effectively with students. Marty has brought expertise in math content and math pedagogy to our school district. Now, Sheila Tobias, who's an internationally recognized author, known for her work concerning math anxiety, commented, "I regard Marty, as do most of his colleagues, as the math teacher's math teacher, because the future teachers who leave CSU Fullerton to make their careers in the classroom learn their craft in part from Professor Bonsang's own style and purpose, namely to be committed, consistent, and contemporary." Dr. Bonsangue has secured more than $8 million in external funding. He's currently the co-director of Project MT2, a National Science Foundation grant to help strengthen mathematics education in high-need middle schools in the greater Orange County area. Marty has also been a key participant in programs such as Test Up, Talent Expansion in Science and Technology, an urban partnership funded by the National Science Foundation. Also, the California Math and Science Partnership Project, funded by the California Department of Education, and Algebraic Thinking Institute, funded by the University of California's Office of the President. In addition to his numerous grant-funded projects with local schools and school districts, Marty has a substantial list of publications. He has authored 21 peer-reviewed articles, 4 book chapters, 5 conference proceedings, 6 major technical reports, and 7 articles that he has co-authored with his students. Dr. Bonsangue has met with several members of Congress as well as members of the House Science and Technology Committee to share his research addressing how achievement gaps in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics can be narrowed. Dr. Bonsangue has also been a consistent contributor to department, college, and university committees, ranging from serving as a faculty mentor for the CSUF Forgivable Doctoral Program to serving as an active member of the College of Natural Sciences and Mathematics Retention Committee and Curriculum Committees. He's also served on the Blended Teacher Education Committee, the General Education Committee, the University Budget Advisory Committee, and many others. A fellow math colleague, Jerry Gannon, stated, "One of Dr. Bonsangue's favorite sayings when we are looking for help at any level is that we need a worker bee." Well, Dr. Bonsangue could be considered the king of the worker bees. Marty, your colleagues at Cal State Fullerton are extremely proud of you in how you exemplify the ideal teacher-scholar. In so doing, you serve as a role model and mentor to your students and to your colleagues alike. You embody the highest ideals of the balanced pursuit of excellence in teaching, scholarship, and research, and service to your profession and the community. You are truly worthy of your selection as our university's 2010-11 Outstanding Professor, and we're all sitting here today looking forward to your lecture. It's now my pleasure to present this check for $2,000 to you. This check is from the President's Associates. There you go. And it's in recognition of your selection as a 2010-11 Outstanding Professor for California State University, Fullerton. As you know, the Outstanding Professor Award is for $4,000. It's a tradition that the first $2,000 is presented at the Honors Convocation, and you received that last May. And then the second $2,000, if you show up for your lecture, is presented to you here today at the time that you present your lecture, as you're doing this morning. It's noteworthy that Dr. Bonsang will use the entire award to start a $25,000 endowed student scholarship over the next 5 years. The Bonsangue Family Scholarship will provide financial support for a first-generation college student majoring in math. Dr. Bonsang noted, I know that having similar support made a big difference for me, both financially and emotionally, when I went to college, adding that creating a student scholarship has been a long-time desire of mine. Marty, thank you very much for your generosity in building support for our students. Dr. Bonsang, you and your distinguished colleagues who are past recipients of this honor, some of whom are in the room here today, are the reason why student learning is so important here at Cal State Fullerton. So on behalf of the President's Associates and the university, thank you for inspiring and mentoring our students to ever greater levels of achievements. Congratulations, and I think we're ready for you to give your talk. Okay. Are you going to have a microphone that's hooked up for you? Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Murray, and just thank you all so much for coming. I'm listening to that intro and I'm thinking, wow, that intro is like way better than my talk, right? So, but I have to warn folks down here, I'm going to come off the stage down there, so if you've been to SeaWorld, the first 3 no's are what is known as the splash zone. So give me just a moment, please. So let's see, are you picking me up? You can hear me? Okay, well, again, thank you so much for, for coming. I want to be sure I get this right. I really want to thank the President's Associates, the President's Office, the Office of the Provost, the Academic Senate, and the Faculty Development Center for putting this all together. This is kind of a new experience for me. My grandfather was a tire dipper at Firestone Tire and Rubber Company, and one day when I was about 10, he kind of grabbed me by the lapel and said, "Boy, you're not going to do this for a living." And I said, "No, sir." And it never occurred to me I would be doing this, but I knew that was pretty tough work. That was honorable work, but man, that was hard. And so it's really a pleasure for me to be here. So. Here we go. So everybody has a math story. Everyone sitting here or standing here, and for those who just walked in, they're $20 seats. You're welcome to join us. Sit up here at your own risk. So everyone has a math story. I have never, not once, ever introduced myself to someone at a party. They say, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm a math teacher," and gotten a neutral response. Not once. 36 years. It's like, "Oh, math. Oh, my God. Oh, I hate math." Or, "Oh, I love math, let's do Pythagoras." You know, you get a different response. And so I'm going to just ask you to kind of give an applause, a shout out here. Here's 3 options. You love math, you hated math, no strong feeling either way, but be as honest as possible with the understanding that how many math majors are here today? Recognizing that whether or not you love math or hate math may depend on the particular day, okay? But just kind of find a general place where you feel. Okay, so here we go. We're going to give a shout out here. I love math. Here we go. I hate math. Yeah, you can. They're out there, huh? You can hear them. Oh, yeah. Okay, how many people say like whatever? Yeah, not so many. All right, yeah, okay. Now, I just want you to understand that when we say that I love math, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be your life's work. Now, I got this communication last week from Dr. John Matthews, who's here, Professor Emeritus. The guy's still doing mathematics all the time. He was so excited about this. He said, "Marty, I'm doing work on Riemann surfaces, and I got this equal to 1. And I wrote back single word, really? And this is what he sends me back. You know, mathematicians are always going to approve it. So I wrote back, yeah, that's what I got too. You know? And as you know, this Wednesday, the math community celebrates that most holy of all days, the most sacred of all days. What is it, math guys? Pi Day, that's right. On March 14th at 1:59 p.m., 314-159, we will observe a moment of silence for pi. Now, there are some here who remember when our National Math Story began. It was 55 years ago this year. And I was just kind of a young guy at the time. That's a picture of my sister Kathleen and a very young Marty, age 4, in 1957. One of my daughter's friends years ago saw that picture and she said, "Oh my gosh, Mr. B, you were so cute, like what happened?" But a few months before that, you'll remember the launch of Sputnik. And the world changed forever, and the United States got into a scramble for math supremacy. Although the NSF was founded, I believe, in 1950, Congress started pumping new funds into the NSF, created NASA, DARPA. Some of us here may remember the so-called new math. Tom Lehrer wrote a wonderful song about this. Hooray for new math. Yeah, okay. And the most important thing of all, the government turned to Walt Disney and said, "Walt, we got to get people involved. We got to get kids interested in math. Can you help us?" And he made the greatest propaganda cartoon in the history of American cinema, Donald in Math Magic Land. And being somewhat of a cartoon junkie, here's a cell from that original 1959 film. This is a real thing, and if you look at it closely, you can see the paint is smudged a little bit on Donald. I'll just pass that around. And it's a great film, and the math is almost correct. So Sputnik is launched. We're going to get kids interested in math and science. So how'd we do? Here's a 2003 assessment by the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, of 29 major nations, most of which are you classify as industrial nations. So how'd we do? Woohoo! We tied with Latvia. So 24th of 29. This is among 15-year-old students. There are more current studies, which I'll show you in a moment. And the question that politicians answer, or at least ask, is when did we get so bad at math? And I've had discussions actually with Congress people about this, and everyone has an answer. Well, it was when they started doing this. It was the back to basics. It was the non-back to basics. And my colleague, David Drew, at Claremont Graduate University, did a little snooping around of his own, and he wondered, well, when did we get so bad at math? So he went back historically and found a 1965 international assessment, the first one on the record, with 12 industrial countries, and US rank was number 12. In 1989, same countries, same result. In 1991, we came up. It's not if we came up or if we found people who were worse than us. You know? As you know, it's always good to get a few players on the team who are not, as good as you. This is a study that you just saw. There's also a 2007 study that I'll show you just a little bit later. So this is in Drew's book that came out last year. And this is the 2007 study from the Trends in International Mathematics and Science. Now this is interesting for me professionally and personally. In 2007, the US ranked 9th out of 45 nations. In 4th grade math, outpaced by, and you can look at the group, that's pretty good company, right? You got the Yankees, you got, the Mariners, you got some hard-hitting teams there, okay. but the U.S. is in the bottom 25% by the time they reach high school. And that's true every time. And the TIMSS researchers wrote, when older U.S. students are asked to apply what they've learned in math, they demonstrate less ability than most of their peers in other highly industrialized countries. Somewhere from 4th grade to 10th, 11th grade, something happens. This is well known. Some of you have seen it in your children's life, and the truth is, some of you have felt it in your own hearts. There was a time for some of us here when you stepped off the bus, when mathematics no longer was the love for you. In fact, it was a hate. And it's as silent as the wind, and you just, and nobody knew. And some of us haven't gotten back on. So the question is, when did we get so bad at math? What's the short answer? Woo-hoo, we were always bad at math, right? On international assessments. And so politicians who are very much interested in finding blame, there's no blame here. This has been part of our culture, is to not excel, to not even be competitive at a secondary level in mathematics. Now you might recall, did you see the very top school on that list I showed you? It was Finland, right? So here's an article just a few months ago, or last year, from Smithsonian. Why are Finland's math schools successful? Let's see. Just wanted to read you a short clip. How many of you have studied the schools in Finland? Anyone? Not so much. Neither have I, but I'm going to. That's my new sabbatical, Dean Cook, so you'll be getting my application for that soon. There are no mandated standardized tests in Finland except for one exam at the end of the senior year. No rankings, no comparisons, no competitions between student schools or regions. The difference between the weakest and strongest students are the smallest in the world. Let me say it again. The difference between the weakest and the strongest students are the smallest in the world. I'm out at middle schools and high schools every week. Many of you are too. The difference between the lower classes and upper classes are phenomenal. They are life-changing. If you're on the upper track, you are there. But if you are here, water will never run uphill. In the middle school, the 9th grade. And Olli Luukkainen, the president of the teachers union in Finland, says equality is the most important word in Finnish education. All political parties agree on this. So I found that pretty interesting. And I got to wondering about our mathematical past. Now, some of you may know that I teach a course here at Cal State called Mathematics History. We have any of the Math 380 students in the audience? I actually offered them extra credit to come to my talk. That may be the most self-serving thing I've ever heard of. But I'm confessing it to you, I'm tenured. What the heck, I'm good. So thank you for coming. One of my students pointed out to me last year, said, gee, Dr. B, you not only teach math history, dude, you are math history. When you're right, It's true, I guess I've been around long enough. So I started wondering about our mathematical past. And I want to thank my colleague Mark Ellis who's here, because he's done quite a bit of work on this, and we've had some discussions about what life looked like in math classrooms. And arithmetic algorithms, multiplication, long division, were designed to do two things. What are they? Get the right answer and, think about it, 1850. Save paper. Paper's expensive, very expensive. Even more so for the Greeks, but they're writing in the sand, so what do they care? Okay. Only college-bound students needed advanced courses. Algebra and geometry were college courses in the 18th century. They were advanced high school courses before the Civil War. Algebraic algorithms such as factoring and solving equations, if you were lucky enough to get to that level, the algebra was there to do two things and two things only. What were they? Get the right answer and save paper, right? So I thought we'd try one. And by the way, here is an 1852 algebra book. I was just a young boy at the time. This is written by Charles Davies. If you're into math history, that's a name that you know. There are a couple of big writers, and that was one of them. So this actually is in pretty good shape. I'd like to pass this around and just kind of get a flavor for it. It's not a bad book, but they don't care too much about why. They care a lot about what in that book. So I thought we'd try one. So here we go. 987 times 978. Ready? We're going to do some math. Did you bring your paper? That's all right, I did. So there, little Marty, work that problem. Take a moment, look at it, decide if the answer is right or wrong. Turn to your neighbor and say, is it right or wrong? Turn to your neighbor, right or wrong. On a 10-point quiz, how many points does little Marty get for his work? Just shout them out. 0, okay, good. Let me come over here where people might like me. How many points does little Marty get for his work? Come on, give me a number, out of 10. None, really? Wow, tough crowd, huh? Wow, well, you know, the teacher agreed with you. Now, I just want to point out, I'm going to go back a slide. If we can, there we go. There are 9 partial products up here. Are you with me? Don't make me define everything. 8 times 7 is 56. See the 6 and the little 5? I got it right. 8 times 8 is 64, yeah? Plus the 5 is what? 69. I got it right. There are 9 partial products, and I got 8 of them right. Actually, 7 of them, because I made the same mistake twice. Exactly the same mistake in exactly the same way, and all the addition is perfect. That's my best work. And I get this paper back, and inside something dies. That was 9 problems plus addition, and I got most of them right, at least an 80%, and an F. Now, in fairness to the teacher, she's got 35 students, or he's got 35 students. He's got a page of these. You're not going to go through all of them. In the 1850s, okay, you know, because maybe the answer really mattered. In the year 2011, is there any one of us that's going to do this problem by hand? If you actually care about the detail. Nobody, right? You're going to pull out your cell phone and pop, 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 pop. Even if you're good at multiplication, just to be sure it's right. So, I have a personal comment to the teacher. The correct answer was 965,286. Now, the child's answer, little Marty's answer, is within about 1%. That's not bad. It's probably better than your checking account balance, and it's absolutely more accurate than your calculated income tax. I would mention to the crabby teacher, which is due next month. So here's our expectation as a nation, that while some students might be able to perform arithmetic and algebraic computations, very few have the ability to understand the ideas, so the curriculum valued procedure over concept. That's what it was based on in the 1850s. And there are those shaking their heads saying, man, it ain't changed. It's changed in Finland, and in Korea, and in China, and Russia, and in Mexico. Let me give you a couple of my favorites. Ours is not to reason why. Just invert and multiply. Come on, you know them. Sing along with me. Here we go. How about this? Say it with me. Go. A minus times minus is always a plus. The reason for this we must never discuss. My personal favorite, teacher, the solution to the general quadratic equation is that. Student says, how come? Teacher says, shut up. I've used that line many times myself. No, I'm kidding. I hope I'm kidding. So here's an algebra set. This is the book that's going around somewhere. So you can look at it, save paper, right? A lot of stuff, not much space. Now, I dug this out of the same book. When we think algebra, many of us think about word problems, yeah? Word problems. Quickly turn to your neighbor and just look at them and say, word problem. And see how they react. So, some people actually started doing this. Right, you get a physical reaction, oh my gosh, out of them. So here it is. A's age is double B's, B's is triple C's, the sum of their ages is 140. The question, what's the mother's maiden name? No, I'm kidding. What's the age of each one? 1852. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad problem. I think this problem is a great problem and has merit. I'm just saying that in 1852, it maybe has a different place than in the year 2011. We'll come back to that. So here's my question to you. Have our beliefs changed? I'll give you three choices. Yes, no, not sure. Take a quick moment, turn to your neighbor and just say, what do you think? Yes, no, not sure. Ask them. Just a show of hands on this one. Have our beliefs changed about math since then? Who says yes? Who says no? Who says not sure? Take a look around. We're kind of split on all three. I don't know the answer myself. Has the world changed since the 1850s? Same three answers. Now, if you are not sure, I'm sure that your horse and buggy is waiting for you and they would like you to go. The Common Core, in a report that came out a couple years ago, states that while American students are spending endless hours preparing to take tests of basic skills, their peers in high-performing nations are reading poetry and novels, conducting experiments in chem and physics, making music, and studying historical issues. We are the only leading industrialized nation that considers the mastery of basic skills to be the goal of K-12 education. This is by the big boys and girls. This is not me. Now, just so you think, well, Marty, we've kind of heard this before, I'll bet you haven't heard this one. In 1897, the state of Indiana legislature decided that pi was too hard. And they passed a bill, and this is on the record, and you can Google it, number 246, that the ratio of the diameter and circumference of a circle is as 5/4 to 4, and if you invert and multiply, you will get exactly 3.2. Remember Pi Day? Come on, say it to me. 1,4, keep going. 159, yeah. Oh, yeah. Talk to me, Kim. Yeah. Love to hear those digits. They said, nope, we decree it. And they went on further, referring to the ancient problems of antiquity, the duplication of the cube, those problems. And be it remembered that these noted problems had long since given up by scientific bodies as insolvable mysteries and above man's ability to comprehend. That's in the law. There's the link. They'll probably have it up on the website. You can check it out. My takeaway today is that we do not have the luxury of being bad at math. It is no longer a national identity. I mentioned earlier, my colleague and good friend David Drew wrote a book called, just came out, Stem the Tide from Johns Hopkins Press. Pass that one around. I'm in it. That's why I like this book. And this is a little lengthy, but I think it's worth mentioning too. And by the way, we're doing good. We're more than halfway through the talk, just to let you know kind of where we are on the needle. So we're doing good. Teenagers hardly can contain their enthusiasm when learning to drive, and we assume that they will master this skill. Some may fail once, twice, 3 times, but soon they'll all be driving. Parents and teachers don't debate whether a young person has the aptitude to drive. How many of you have a driver's license? Then you can do math. Driving is much, much harder than solving for X. Think about it. In driving, you're doing distance, rate, time problems all the time, right? Am I going to hit that guy? Hit the brake? I mean, it's very intuitive. David goes on to say that they should take the same attitude towards math and science achievement. Instead, we Americans do a massive disservice to our children by lowering expectations of what any one child can learn. We erode achievement, self-confidence, and aspiration, and then he takes it to a little different level. And this is where I'm going to take the talk today. And I'll warn you in advance, it may be slightly controversial, and again, some of my colleagues may not agree with it, but hey, I'm the outstanding professor, so I get to kind of, take the time and say this, right? Worse yet, in the case of math and science, we perpetuate the myth that low aptitude accounts for women, minorities, and the poor lagging behind. This only increases the achievement gap within our own country and students abroad. Tell them they can't, and they won't. Here's an email I got just a few days ago from my colleague and good friend, Dr. Ruth Yop. Education Week reported less than a week ago. Nearly 1 million students were retained last year. Black students were 3 times as likely, and Hispanic twice as likely as white students. This is not math specific, but you know that mathematics, quantitative reasoning is certainly part of that. So something that I've really struggled with the last 10 years. I've had the privilege of being at Cal State for 20 years. I came in full of vim and vigor and voive, and I taught junior high and high school, and oh my gosh, community college. I was so glad to be here. Those are all great things, but now I could work with teachers. In the last few years, man, I was flagging. My friend Pete would say I was feeling lower than a duck's instep. Is there hope? I love this. I can't do this math problem. It has 3s and 4s in it. I can't do problems that have 3s and 4s in them. What do you do when you get to 8s and 9s? I'll be sick that day. Nervous laughter from this side of the room. Because the truth is, some of you know what that felt. You know exactly what that was. And maybe haven't fully recovered from that. But I am here to tell you that I am very hopeful today, and I'll tell you why. The greatest achievement in my lifetime is not, and you don't have to raise your hand, but I'm kind of curious. Out. Okay. Still on. We used to, growing up in Inwood, in South LA, we used to walk down the street Sunday nights at 7 to watch Disney's Wide World of Color on the neighbor's TV. We just wait for the peacock, and then we go home. That's what we did. It was really a thrill. The greatest achievement is not air conditioning, which I love. The so-called sending the man on the moon, which I remember in high school. Velcro. Those of you with young children will appreciate this, right? Much better than trying to lace up those little shoes. Certainly the internet, or even cell phones. These are great things, and we all use them. Oh, and iHeartRadio, of course. We can't leave that out. I know you're thinking, hey, this guy is really cool. He knows about all the tech. Yeah, right. Greatest achievement we have done as a country in my lifetime is the election of an African-American president. That is not a political statement. I am the most non-political person I've ever met. I like to say things just to bother people if I know what you think. Me is because all those things reflected the abilities of a few engineers, right? What percentage of the public invented the internet? Well, there's Al Gore. Who else? Okay, no, I'm kidding. Very few people who actually do these things. We all use them. But the election of the president reflected a change in the beliefs of society. And that is what gives me hope and actually made me re-energize that maybe we could turn this limping math ship around. Maybe it was possible. This is not political. I've met George Bush Sr., George Herbert Walker Bush, incredibly impressive guy. I haven't met Barack Obama, but I saw his car go by. When I was in DC, I waved. He waved back, I think. I don't know. One of the books that was very influential for me was a 1954 book written by Gordon Allport. Social scientists in the audience have probably memorized this one. The Nature of Prejudice. Now understand, this is written on the heels of World War II, talking about racial, anti-Semitic issues. But I think that it's not too much different in mathematics. And I'm going to kind of conclude the talk and see if you're willing to go down this road with me. Now, the dictionary says prejudice is a feeling favorable or unfavorable towards a person or thing prior to or not based on actual experience. Allport says no child is born prejudiced. His or her prejudices are always acquired. A child who adopts prejudice is taking over attitudes and stereotypes from his family or cultural environment. And I just want you to think for a moment, did anyone in your family or did anyone at your school or did anyone who is important to you ever tell you or communicate to you, you can't do math? Turn to a neighbor and say, did that ever happen to you? Just a simple yes or no. And if it does, it is very, very hard to recover from. In fact, the word stereotype comes from the Greek, stereo meaning the same, type tupos. Tupos means to strike, so leave a mark. Some of you remember things like typewriters. To strike so as to leave a mark. So that word means to strike the same so as to leave a mark. And we are the only major industrialized nation that I'm aware of that has that belief and has that value that some can and some can't. So can we change it? One last quote from Allport. He says that it's when personal experience challenges our deepest beliefs that we can truly change. Only the type of contact that leads people to do things together is likely to result in changed attitudes. If you don't have a warm feeling towards a group or some people, and you get to know them, and you say, oh my gosh, these are the greatest people in the world. There was a wonderful study done at the end of World War II where American soldiers were asked, how do you feel about German civilians? And the soldiers that had never met a German civilian, 80+% were very negative. The soldiers that had spent time in their houses, more than 80% said, these are the greatest people I've ever met. They are warm, they are funny. Personal experience. You know, our views of who can do what are being challenged all the time. I'm sure that the Lakers remember this young man. Jeremy Lin, when did he score the 38 points against the Lakers? Was that in LA or in New York? I think it was in LA when Jeremy Lin came in, Harvard graduate, Asian American, and just a superstar basketball player. People's viewpoints were changing. Here's the one quote by Bonsangue. It hasn't been published, so if you like it, go ahead and publish it. And just remember, that was me. With apologies to James Dobson, every person needs to have had a series of decisive mathematical victories that are observed by or experienced with other persons of significance in order to begin to believe that you can truly do math. Not just once, but several. And someone else important in your life noticed, they saw it. Because if you stepped off the math bus, I'm guessing no one saw you. It just silently happened. Now, here's the part my colleagues may disagree with. Fair enough. I believe that the answer will not be found in our curriculum, in our textbooks, or in our technologies. Those are great things, and I love the people who work on these. We have folks in the audience who are experts. But as Indiana Jones said, I think we're digging in the wrong spot. I don't think that that's where the answer is. My view is that the answer will be found in ourselves as individuals, as classes, as schools. Classes, I mean third grade class. Communities, and as a nation, when we really start. And you say, well, that all sounds well and good, Bonsangue, but how do we get there? Funny you should ask. Excuse me. You gotta love Gary Larson. Coming to the end of my talk. Here's some ideas from Marty. The literature says we should look at successful countries and see what they do. Okay, what do they do? I haven't seen very much specific. Here's what I see. 1, teach mathematics like we teach language arts, with creativity, with passion, with depth. Every fifth grade teacher loves to teach language arts. They live to teach language arts. They read stories, they act out plays, they do vocabulary, they link it to history, and then at 2:30 they spend 12 minutes on math. Here's a word for principals in the audience. Require. Your teachers teach math minute for minute to match language arts. They spend 97 minutes on language arts, great, 97 minutes on math. With the same care and thought and devotion and passion and energy devoted to it. Now here's our dog, Buddy. This guy lives to play ball. He loves to play ball. You throw the ball and he'll show you where the gold is buried. Could you come up with a language arts lesson about this? Easy, right? But I want you right now to think about a math problem. A math problem related to that picture. It can be arithmetic, algebra, calculus. We have some of our calc students here today. Something about velocity change. It'd be so much fun. We would just stay here. Let's do that during lunch. We'll work on it. Mr. El Katanani, young man I've had the privilege of working with in Norwalk, he routinely plays Algebra Opoly with his classes. And this isn't just a game, right? This is a way of really engaging students. And they are, by the way, the Lobos. Whoops, the Lobos. That is what they are, the wolves. So it's a custom board that he made. 2, I've got 6. Do mental math every day. Greatest hindrance in mathematics, at least in arithmetic, is the pencil. Anyone have a pencil or pen with them? Put it down, please. We're going to do some mental math right now. Are you ready? Anyone not participating will come up here with me. All right, so at least mentally, mental math. Here we go. What is? Are you ready? Here we go. 8 plus 5 times 12. Whisper the answer to a neighbor. Whisper, shh, whisper, whisper. And the answer is, who got 72? Woohoo! I'm telling you, a couple more victories like this, you'll be getting your PhD in this stuff, man. One more. What is 6 times 2/3? Come on, you can do it. Break it up, you can do it. Cubed. Nervous laughter again from the groom's side. Did you hear it? Yeah, okay. Then square rooted. Turn to your neighbor. Answer. Who got 8? Woohoo! Okay, we got one more. I told you we'd come back to it. All right, now we're going to do this one together. A's age is double B's. B is triple C's, and the sum is so much. Now always start with the unit. Who's the youngest person up here? Talk to me. Who's the little guy? C, he is 1 block. He's 1 share. How about B? How many blocks is he? 3 blocks of age, yeah? Plus the little guy, how many is that? That's 4. Okay. How many does A have? How many blocks? How many does A have? Come on, you can do it. Some of you are trying to escape on me. I can see your brainwaves running out for lunch. Yeah, I was a junior high teacher. Don't even mess with me, okay? Yeah, 6, right? 6, because it was double 3. Okay, how many do we have? 4 plus? That's 10 shares. How much is this all worth? $140. How much is a share? $14. How old is person C? How old is the child? 14. How old is the middle person? This is harder. 14 times 3. Come on, you can do it. Carry the 1. 42. How about the old guy? 84. How old are they? 42, 84. Turn to your neighbor. High five. This is what they do in Finland. Okay, one more. No, I'm... Dr. Matthews is here. We'd say, 1, we already proved that. Let's move on. Okay. 6 items. Number 3, they'll go quickly after this. Teach arithmetic meaningfully. 67 squared means 60 plus 7. Now, our friend Art Benjamin was here a couple weeks ago. He said if he could say anything to America's teachers and schools, it would be left to right. Do your math left to right, not right to left. Don't put the 9 and go that way. We read left to right, yeah? We write left to right. Let's do math left to right. Here we go. How are your brains? Are they still good? All right, good. Stay in the game now. Okay, 60 times 60. Try it again. 6 times 6 with a couple of friendly zeros. 60 times 7. Just one friendly zero. The other 60 times 7. You're saying, well, dude, it's like the other 420. 7 times 7. You play American football, you recognize that. We got to add those up. Let's not add those up. Let's keep track of it as we go, okay? Let's clean as we go. Come on, we can do this. 3,600 plus 420. Push them together right now. 4020 plus another 420. Do it. 44. 4440 plus this little guy. Right? I mean, we can do this. And when you get to algebra, as our friend Jerry Gannon would say, a child of 5 could see what's going on with a binomial square. That's how they teach arithmetic in Finland. If I really want the answer, I've got plenty of technology. What I want the answer. But what I want is not just the method. I want to capture the essence, what the Greeks call the entos, the guts, the heart of this thing. Four out of 6 meaningfully involve the parents with the children. And I don't mean just check off your homework. I mean you got to teach the parents. How many people knew this? I don't know if the things work. Is it? There it is. How many of you here knew about this? Come on, be honest. How many people say that's the first time I've ever seen that? Like, oh my gosh, where was that? Right, okay, fair enough. So we're going to teach that to the parents. One of my favorite images is working with my colleague and good friend, Dr. Armando Martinez Cruz at Richmond School, where he's doing a parent-children seminar doing math, and he's teaching in English, and then he's teaching in Spanish. And my job is to serve the coffee, which I did very well. Mas Cafe? I was really good at that. And he's got a 6-month-old he's holding in his arm so the parent could work on this with her child. I didn't have a picture of that, but it's just a wonderful image. Creating mathematical community, that's kind of what we did a moment ago in here, isn't it? Remember the high five? We shared a moment. How often does that happen in American schools? Because the teacher's afraid. And I've done plenty of in-services where the principal comes in, and the teachers are working, and the principal, I'm not trying to bag on principals, or the district administrator, I'm just saying that there's someone in a position of authority, and they're doing this. Because they're scared to death to look bad. I'm very thrilled that we have some wonderful school administrators here from Fullerton District with whom I've had the privilege to work that have been greatly involved. And with apologies to Dylan Thomas for all of you literary folks out there, Rage Against the Dying of the Math Light, these are no longer okay, all right? We're going to walk out today and we're going to agree that we're not going to make jokes anymore that put people in different groups or categories. We don't do it with gender anymore. Remember, Milton Berle used to come out dressed as a woman and they all thought it was hilarious. Today, not so much. We made jokes about groups today. No. It's okay, I could never do math either. When are we ever going to use this? I never had a math mind. I'm not smart enough. My favorite from Donald Duck. Math, that's for eggheads. If someone stops you on the street and says, why study math? I'll give you 2 reasons. 1, because it creates options in our life. If you jumped off the math bus, but wanted to go to college, there's a whole set of majors now closed, just like a light in the gym. It shuts off. Doesn't mean you have to be a John Matthews. Lord, I'm not a John Matthews. I never pretend to be. But I could do enough math where it was still on the table for me. And Knowing math, that is power, guys. I'm telling you, if you can do a word problem, you walk down in a dark street at night, you're down in a city, and you're saying, bring it. Now listen up. 2 trains leave Philadelphia. Hey, you need some paper? You know, I mean, you feel good. "25 years ago, Paulos coined the term innumeracy." This book belongs to Armando, so please be sure to get it back, or else I'll buy him another one. And he likens it to illiteracy. And when you think of illiteracy, I don't know about you, but I think about John Steinbeck and the Grapes of Wrath and the migration from the Dust Bowl and people who can't read or write. And if anyone told you, well, I can't read or write, you would be horrified. I went to the school and I can't read. But if they said I can't do math, there are many who would say, I never could either. There was laughter, again, from the groom's side, yes. That's got to change. And that, one at a time, person to person, heart to heart, mano a mano. Each of us will need help, though, along the way. And at the risk of missing someone, I'm looking at this wonderful audience, thinking of people who have changed my life in no particular order. Harris, Ray, who gave me the idea of going back to grad school in the first place, Bill, John, who does really hard stuff, Jim, for hiring me twice, our administrators. But one person that I'd like to dedicate the talk to today, you saw the slide, is Dr. Jerry Gannon, whom many of you know is home recovering from a severe illness. Jerry never, ever let me get away with anything. If I bring my guitar to class, he'd say, lesson plan's a little thin today, huh, Marty? Which was usually true. But he challenged me of what I believed and what I valued. He held the standard, or holds the standard of mathematics high for teachers in the state. And I'm very honored to have, and I hope he doesn't mind standing, his eldest son, Jeff, is here. Jeff, would you stand and be recognized, please? So, let's see, Sherry, I'm going to need you. Now, we segue to the very, very last part of this talk, and this is completely personal. Let me get just a couple more of these. Some of you may remember when Mattel came out with Teen Talk Barbie, and one of her phrases was, math class is tough. You can Google it. I've spent 20 years searching for her. I'd pay $1,000 for that doll. Don't think. Listen, if I buy Donald, are you kidding? You can't find them. How come? Because the math groups went nuts when this came out. Here's an article from New York Times, a Talking Barbie offended a national women's group. Teen Talk Barbie will now select 4 phrases out of 269, not 270. Math problem for the majors, what's the probability of getting one that says this phrase? That's not a trivial question. So Mattel ordered a recall, or did not order a recall, but they offered to swap them out, and the company said they made a mistake, and I don't think so. I think Barbie was right on the money. Math is hard. It doesn't matter. Even if you are a John Matthews, you're going to find a problem that's going to take you and throw you to the ground. So what? So you get back up and you keep fighting it. And this was very personal for me because about that time, my 2 daughters were pretty little. There's little Annie and Jenny in 1989. Fast forward, and here's Dr. Ann Kennard, OBGYN, and Jennifer Bonsang, MA in mathematics. Thank you. And I'd like to just, if I can make a personal introduction, just point out that none of this really would have been possible without my wife, Nancy. Would you stand and be recognized? As a friend once told me, you know, Marty, those girls are beautiful like their mother and smart like their mother. I'd also like to recognize Nancy's mom, a great encouragement and source of inspiration to me, Dr. Catherine Fraser, my mother-in-law. So, okay. And the saying is true, behind every successful man, there's a surprised mother-in-law. So, my older daughter, Annie, really struggled with math. She did not do well. And she wrote this to me recently in an email, kind of a blog. She's a very good writer. Why was my self-worth so intertwined with the ability to do math? Why do girls routinely say they don't get it, while their male peers accept math as another subject? Why did I think I was stupid just because I had difficulties with math despite excellence in everything else? I think many girls fall off the math wagon at the same time I did. In a time of deep personal insecurity and change, math requires a stability, a concreteness of answer that twin girls often don't have. Math requires confidence, leaving no room for ambiguity. You're either right or wrong. Finally, the fragile self-esteem I had, that many girls have, just can't withstand this assault, and girls instead decide they are bad at math. And I don't want to embarrass anyone, but I'm speaking to the women in the audience. Has any female person in this audience ever felt this way? Just kind of do that. And this is a group of university and math folks. And she's got her master's in math, and she felt that way. And so this is deeply personal to me. But as Tom Hanks said, the hard is what makes it great. So I wrote a song to commemorate this. And I get a lot of requests about this song, but I'm going to sing it anyway. Now, I should warn you, on Saturday, I actually snipped off part of the finger and got 5 stitches. So if you're a guitar player, this is a really, really, really important finger. So we're going to get the little pinky into the game, and we'll see how it goes. Here we go. This song's about a Barbie doll whose whose hair was long and feet were small, but in one crucial way was Barbie marred. It seems that she was quite well read, through Joyce and Dickens she had sped, but in math class all she said was, math is hard. While Barbie's doing 2 + 2, Ken had learned that P over Q is not a form in which radical 2 can be. Now I just think that it's a crime to use up most of Barbie's time doing stuff that's elementary. 'Cause math is hard, math is hard. That's what Barbie doll was made. We know that you are smarter than the guys that made you understand. Barbie, you don't have to feel that way. I remember long ago, I know he was everything the boy could see. Even in the toughest test, chose that his very best. My sisters, on the other hand, played with dolls, you understand. They'd sit upstairs with Barbies by the hour. I'm sure they had a lot of fun, but when all was said and done, Barbie didn't do anything. Sing it with me, because math is hard. Sing it with me, math is hard. That's what Barbie doll was made to say. I know that you are smarter than guys that made you understand. Barbie, you don't have to feel that way. I've come to the end of this song. I hope you didn't take it wrong. I think Barbie doll's not very fun. But math is hard for most of us. No reason to get off the bus. So that's when I struck mine. I hope that my own daughters feel that mathematics is very real and important for them. They'll study X's, Y's, and Z's, and when they take their SATs, I Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Wow. How do you say thank you for something like that? We do have a few minutes for time for questions and answers. If anyone has a question, right here.
Thank you, Marty. That was fantastic. The question I have is based on 60 Minutes last night. Did you see that one
I didn't, but
with
my
the Khan
mother-in-law
Academy?
was telling me about this.
Okay, and I'm just curious if you have given any thought to how the Khan Academy might relate to changing our teaching of math.
The Khan Academy, local and now a national online mathematics and teaching organization. I think about why should a student come to my class? I'm sure my students think about that too. What is it they're going to get from me that they can't get online? You know, the horse and buggy's gone. So I don't have the specifics. I am not the expert. One of my new colleagues, Dr. Sherry Itchenose, is an expert in this area, and I look forward to hearing more after she joins the faculty of how we can continue to move in a direction that utilizes the best of our internet technologies. Mahmoud?
Is mathematics. When teachers like you are around, why should people go online? Mathematics, as you said yourself, is a communication. American kids are not stupid. I said all the time in my class, some of them taking it wrong, unfortunately. This is a great nation that has invented almost everything. I want all audience to think about it. Who was the first heart surgeon? Who invented computer? Who invented all of the beautiful things in the world? So if this nation is not stupid, then why mathematics is last and the least? I think going back to the class 10 teachers, if you do teach with your heart, if you do teach with your own kids, by the way, I should show off about my kid too, by the way. She graduated from high school in California. I took her to a specific school that they have the best SAT, as well as the best, actually, AP calculus. As a result, she went to Berkeley with honor, and she's finishing USC with MBA. So this is the same kid, grew up in this nation. So parents also need some help to help teachers, to have teachers like Marty to be appreciated, not only school once in a year. Sadly, we don't have this ceremony once, once every month. There are a lot of teachers around who do a lot of work in the world, and they've never been appreciated. I definitely appreciate California State University for having such an honor for me to be here with you today, although I had another class somewhere else, but I made it to be here to show you here that we all care for you, you're great, we love you, and America should be proud of you. We don't have that many teachers around, because people make fun of mathematics. In this nation, people think that's a joke. There are movies, there are stories, there are songs, and I hate education, education is stupid. I think the media, government cannot do anything. We all should start from us.
Mahmoud, I appreciate the personal acclaim on that. America doesn't really know about me, which is fine. But the thing is, I just want to piggyback on that. There are so many great math teachers, and there are many in this room. And I'm up here because I was here when the wheel went round. But the fact is that there are many wonderful teachers who would rather teach math than breathe, you know? I mean, it's not just what you do, guys. It's who you are. And so I appreciate that, and I know that Mahmoud is one of those teachers as well. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, Marty, is part of the thing and enthusiasm and relating it to their lives? I think a lot of people are like, why do I need this? Is that played in somehow to teaching with enthusiasm?
Here, the question is relating it to when am I going to use this or to our lives. I find that a little thin, to be honest with you. I was on a panel a few years ago. I was the only math teacher there. There was a couple of engineers and a few industry people. I was the only one on the panel that used anything higher than Algebra 1 on a regular basis. I think that there are some applications for some folks, but we do math because it is beautiful. It is creative. Remember the 67 squared? Yeah? Remember the square? How can you not love that? It is incredible when you make that link. For the same reason that one of the best things I ever did was memorizing Shakespeare. I don't use that every day. There comes a tide in the affairs of men. But maybe he's got something to say to me. And I feel more powerful. And to me, that's the heart of mathematics. I think there are applications, but I find selling that to kids pretty thin, frankly, especially word problems. Remember the ABC? How'd you feel when you solved it? Uh-huh. You felt pretty good. Right. So my answer is not popular, but that's how I feel about it. Roger?
Marty, I want to thank you for a wonderfully entertaining discussion of what the problems are. I'm a physicist. I have several of my colleagues in the audience as well. You should all understand that we all use, in physics, we use mathematics as a tool. So you got to learn the mathematics first. Then comes the physics. So you see the problem we have. It's a second order effect, as we would say. But I'd like to just point out that he mentioned family, he mentioned teachers, he mentioned community. I think one aspect of the problem that we have in math and science education is the media. I don't know how many times you've all seen an anchor on TV turning to their person, beautiful, made up, gorgeous woman, turn and say, after reporting on some science event or something, did you understand any of that? I think that's a serious problem as well. And until we can do that with everybody watching TV now, until the media starts acting like Marty has asked us all to think about, we won't really start solving these problems in a more universal way. Thank you, Marty.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Thank you all for coming.
Okay, one last question.
Al? Al? Yeah.
Okay, Professor, we thank you very
Oops,
much.
I'm sorry. Tell me again.
Okay, Professor, we thank you very much for the lecture. It's very helpful. But I have a question here. Do you think the system reform is necessary for the improvement of math education? For example, children at every grade must meet the math requirements for that grade before they are allowed to move up. Now, they do not have to get grade A, but they must have the passing grade. Now the children, the students, are now in the elevator automatically going up. Even some high school graduates find it's hard to do decimal operation. It's hard. Some people find math is hard, it's difficult, have no confidence, not because they are stupid. I think they do not have enough training. The practice is not strict enough. If this hard training, hard practice starts from grade 1, I think the situation would be different. So this first step, I would say, system reform is necessary.
And we do that face to face and heart to heart, just like Dr. Seuss says. One person at a time, one child at a time, one teacher at a time. None of these are simple answers, guys. If they were, we'd bottle it and sell it. But I think that as a nation, we've had a change of heart, and we know that we can no longer circle the X and say, here it is. In terms of specifically children through the grade system, I guess here's my short answer to that. How many of you learned to carry? Carry the 4? Forget about it, right? We're the only, and I mean the only country in the world that does that, because we haven't changed since 1850. Every culture has one responsibility, and what is that? To pass itself to the next generation, and we have done a marvelous job of keeping ourselves in the 1850. If you took your third graders and did 67 like we did today, they'd be fine. Guaranteed, and we have plenty of local examples to show that. Math is hard, you're right. It does take work. That's true. We can do it anyway. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.